Tony. So Tony, typically what we do at this point is certainly answer questions.
Yep.
And we also like to ask the group what they want to talk about next month. As I mentioned, we've been building this based on customer feedback and what people want to talk about next month. And then we close with open mic where anybody can stand up and introduce themselves to the group, have an ask, say an idea, whatever it may be.
Great.
Okay. So any questions for Tony before we?
So I'll just say this because I came in late, so I apologize for that, Tony. But
That's okay.
Mark Rondanero, who left, who was sitting here, as he was leaving, said to me, "This was excellent, and we need him to come back and actually do the workshop."
Oh, do the workshop.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, is everyone here a business owner or entrepreneur or want to do something that has, yeah, okay, we can do a workshop. That's fine.
Would you guys want to do that as early as next month? Do the workshop?
Sure.
That's fresh. Well, could you do it, Tony? Or what's your schedule look like? Second Wednesday of August?
I don't have to look, but the workshop is essentially like this, except what we could do is instead of doing the whole thing again, just do the portions that in the breakout sessions.
Yeah.
Kind of maybe,
Yeah.
do that kind of
Let
thing.
people make their statements.
Make their statements and come up with a brand name. You can do the Fuse workbook exercise. Yeah. We can do that.
That would be great.
No, I'm just throwing out there because Mark said.
I'm sure there's other.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. So we'll work with Tony and Judy and.
Well, what do you guys think? I don't just because I
Yes,
suggested
I'm
it.
sure there's lots of other. You know, marketing is so huge, right? It involves so much. And, any one little section, we can do consumer behavior. You know, we can do pricing.
So I do have a question for you. I don't want to put you on the spot, and
Oh,
I'm
it's okay.
certainly probably going to put my foot in my mouth when I ask this question. There was, because we're a wine region, one of the things I've heard from some of our new winery owner is that we need to be careful that we don't brand ourselves like Blue Nun branded the wine in Germany. So I guess many years ago, Blue Nun became sort of synonymous with Germany, and it was sort of very sweet, white sort of wine, and then sort of all German wine was sort of cast in that same view. So my question to you is, when you think about branding and positioning, how do you make sure that you don't become so successful that you end up sort of, you know...
Kind of like pigeonhole yourself.
Yes.
Right? It's a good question. The way companies do that actually is they come up with different names. So I'll take a Procter & Gamble, for example. It's not under Procter & Gamble. It's under Tide or Tide Free or Tide Pods. Each one going after a different positioning or a different target market. And I'm sure wine's the same way. I mean, wine, if I'm not a wine connoisseur, but if we took a glass of wine and it said, you know, Rothschild or something like that, and I poured it in, and it really wasn't, and you drank it, your mind is going to tell you this is very good.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I don't know if that answers the questions a little bit, but but you, as far as branding a region, and that's a different story, right? As we saw earlier, you can brand a country, a region, a state. And New York is trying to brand themselves. You know, did anybody see the latest CNN? There was the top 50 states for doing business in. CNN's top 50 states. I wonder where New York was. I don't know.
It's usually...
I don't think it was in the top 50, but...
Usually Virginia's at the top.
Virginia, Texas.
Yeah.
I think North Carolina was in there. Utah.
Yeah, Utah's now.
Utah's #1, I think, now.
Because, you know, they've really worked at that for the last
they do.
25 years.
So as far as a region for wines, the region, people have to get together and say, what do we want to be? Right? What do we want? What position should we take? Look at that map, look at that positioning statement map, and say, okay, where's the holes? Where's the corner of the room I can take, right? That someone else doesn't have. And then you build your position and you build your brand image on that.
Any other questions for Tony? Well, Tony, if you're willing to cede the floor, let's do some open mic and see if folks want to
Oh, sure, yeah.
introduce themselves in the group.
Yeah, did they just come up?
Yeah.
I guess it's a
Yes, sir. All right, thank you.
Okay, great. Great.
Just go first.
I'd like to hear.
How do you want to introduce yourself?
I want to hear about Ursa.
Oh, that's right, yeah. We have a
future
good
celebrity
startup here.
entrepreneur.
That's right, yeah. Celebrity entrepreneur.
Yeah, so,
You get up here.
get up there?
Uh-huh.
Well, making me go up there.
That's right. That went off the turn around.
Yes.
The microphone.
You're still on the left?
Oh, yeah, we're still on the left, yeah. You just close my,
I need to show you guys. I do.
here you go.
There's nothing better than a demo. This is a live demo, so it all works.
The wire got through there?
But anyways, you guys can actually come up and play with this afterwards. So I own and run a company called Versus Space Systems. We're based in Ithaca, New York. We started about a year and a half ago. I actually was out in California working at a large satellite company and kept having a lot of frustrations with different customers because they were what was happening in the space industry is a lot of people were taking these big, large, multi-million-dollar project satellites and actually shrinking them down into, shoebox size, going from 300 million down to, let's say, a couple 100,000. But most of these satellites were optical based, and so all of us in New York, once October hits, you can't see the sky anymore. So there's actually large areas, especially when we look around the world, we look at Asia. Too bad I don't have my picture, I can show you all the cool pictures. Those places like Asia, so Singapore, parts of China, Japan, and a lot of these customers I was finding were really frustrated because they have almost 90% cloud cover. And so with 90% cloud cover, you just can't see the ground ever. So what we do, actually, is we use a different type of satellite imaging called radar. And with the radar, so for example, I haven't used this computer. It's all designed for touch screens. So what we do is we actually have a series of, so this is Singapore Harbor, and what we can do is we can actually see through the clouds, and we can, right now, anywhere in the world, give you a 12-hour update of anything that's going on. And so this particular example, this is something we're doing for financial industries, is, so you can see here, this is actually a refinery island, so this is the third largest refinery in the world. And so what we're doing here is, should come up in a second, we're actually measuring from space. We measure how full the oil storage is in these, this is in Singapore, for example.
This is in real time, now you said.
Yeah, this is all real data.
This is real time?
This is all real data I'm showing. So this is, so what we do, this run right here, we do every 3 days. We do a full update of how much oil is actually stored in all of Asia. And so in this particular case, so what we're doing is, this is step one, we look at the oil stored there. The second part about it is, in this particular product, we also are looking at the ships. I don't have all the stuff on the open web yet here, but you can actually track the oil ships coming in. And over in Asia, there's a lot of spoofing, so all these ships are actually supposed to tell who they are, what they're doing. And so in this particular case, what we're doing here is we can actually identify all the ships that are not telling the truth and trying to move the markets. So over in Asia, so where this becomes really powerful is, so now imagine yourself, you're an energy trader. All the data at Asia is self-reported. So China, the government controls all the information about China themselves. Singapore is just no one has any access to these areas. So you can imagine the frustration that the energy traders have. And so what we're doing is we've developed a product that actually, they can actually verify what the self-reported groups are saying. And we've actually validated it. We're working with a number of funds right now where we can track within about 2% what oil supplies are in different parts of the world, and change, within about in a 2% error on what that absolute change is.
Have you found a large discrepancy between that and the self-reported?
You see it so what's funky is you see it every now and then. For what will happen is you'll get about a month where everything's well reported, and then just before there's a big change in the market, you'll see people trying to futz with the market all the time. So what we see here is, since we can actually see individual tanks, I wish I had we have a Gen 2 of this almost done, where basically what it does is it actually starts comparing like Shell versus BP, and It's actually all text-based search, so you search tanks that are decreasing volume. It actually looks for pulls those tank data out, and then it has this cool graphs where it shows, here's the cool analytics we should probably be looking at. You should be looking at for decreasing tanks, and these are, and then as you click on each graph, it actually pulls out all that. You could go all the way down to what tank it is down in the ground if you wanted to. So this is just the start of it. So what we're doing here is this is really a platform for us. Working with these financial institutions is step one. We have a bunch of other products we're working on, everything from, you can imagine, the ship thing we're doing, port security, illegal fishing. But then, I think the one I'm really excited about is we're doing a whole bunch of work on pre-predicting deforestation. So remember how I mentioned Volkswagen? So Volkswagen's actually a really important case study for us because what it showed is that a typical company, about 30% of their market cap is their environmental perception and brand associated with that. And so you can imagine, so palm oil is actually the leading cause of deforestation. And so you can imagine what would happen here is if, let's say Procter & Gamble actually got associated, their supply chain got associated with deforestation. So this actually becomes an extremely valuable product to sell to the CEOs of some of these companies. How do you do that? So we have this whole product. We can do about 600 different things we can do. It's actually the hardest thing for us to choose is how to do it. Is which products to go for first. So we're starting to sell this product. We're negotiating through our first contracts right now, and the pitch would be fun because the next slide is we actually have our own satellites in construction. So we have, so I'll have to have you guys over in about a month. The actual hardware is showing up to our new facility.
All right, I'll take a look.
Yeah, so we have our own satellites in construction, and when we get our own satellites up, the cool thing about that is we go from a 12-hour route visit to anywhere in the world down to a 1-hour route visit. So then we can really start talking about actually tracking urban environments and what's activity going on in urban environments.
So it's like the Internet of Things from space.
Yeah, a lot of what it is. That's exactly what it is how do you become that trusted source of information that's, someone knows that they're going to get it no matter what the weather conditions are. So that's our big advantage.
I have a question for you. Did you have the technology and then back into the usage, or did you start with the use in mind?
It was really the problem. So really the story where all this came from was I was in my last job. I was responsible for selling large satellite systems. Like I showed, one of my biggest project I sold was MPNCO, which is broadband internet for all of Australia. So almost $1 billion project. But then I was selling some other of these pieces of, looking at satellite imagery, but it was really funny because I just kept running into frustration. I had this table of, it was a little bit militaristic, but I had 17 military organizations sitting around one table, very high level officials. They all looked at me like, this optical and this idea you're doing of putting these small satellites, they're cheap enough, you can go around the world, take a picture of the world every day, just fascinates them. They love it. But it frustrated them because they're militaries, they will operate day or night, any weather condition. And that just started down this whole path of, man, there's a huge problem here. And it wasn't just militaries, it was basically Japan, northern Japan. You can't get any data. Or the reason we started building satellites is think about a country like Japan. Think about all the activity with China, the Asian region going on there. If China makes a move, it's sometimes 2 weeks before they get overhead imagery of what's going on around them. Or let's even look at a case closer to home. Look at the Missouri National Guard. Missouri National Guard, I was talking to Wiley the other day, and they have a tornado come through Missouri. Well, think about it. A tornado comes through. It means it's cloudy out. It's close to dusk usually, and so what that means is, and then the last part about it is most U.S. assets can't be used over the U.S. So most of the military assets. So for them, they're low priority, and they have almost 2 days. It's almost 2 days before our own National Guard gets overhead views of what's going on, and after a tornado. And so actually the product I'm really excited about, it'll take us a little bit longer to get to this one. should have brought my iPad in. I have it on my iPad out in the car, but basically this product is what we're working on with those guys is, you know, right after that, we can actually do what we call change detection. We can see all the damage that happened after an earthquake, after these storms. And then what we do is we work with like the National Guard. We actually overlay that with Census Bureau data, so we know who lives where. And you actually create this priority map for them within hours of a tornado or an earthquake coming through, versus 2 days later of that, you know, of being on there. And so that's really cool. And I love that one because it's an awesome case. Because then I look at the commercial side of that, is that we sell that to insurance companies. So imagine you can take that same thing, instead of overlaying census data, you overlay where the insurance policies are, and then what's actually really important to the insurance companies, and this one caught me off guard, was it wasn't that it was quicker for them to necessarily go take pictures of the damage and assess the damage with their assessors. It was actually It was actually a little bit more machine-to-machine work. Improving. They actually, when a disaster comes through, they automatically book hotel rooms, and so insurance adjusters, they have a really high turnover rate. It's one of the biggest costs for the insurance companies is the turnover of the good adjusters. And so usually what ends up happening is the company with the best algorithm to predict where to book hotels is the company that adjusters will work for a while. So, it's really fascinating, because the thing I'm really learning is, I mean, we've talked to, you know, we have over 200 customers we've talked to, all the way up to like CTO, CEO level, and yeah, it's actually really amazing as you do that customer discovery, the stories and the feelings that they have behind that. And then, like, I think what I'm really relating to here, one of the journalists I've been on, is really trying to figure out what is that brand, what is that, what's that identity that we bring? Because, you know, we have the problem, we have a very diverse, you know, you just heard me talk about insurance markets for natural disasters to selling a product tracking oil for hedge funds.
Yeah, but all of it's security. Everything you just said is security.
It's risk reduction.
It is,
what it is.
yeah.
It's all around trust and risk reduction is what the centralized theme of it is. But it's also hard because they're very different industries and they're very different languages. Sorry, I took a long time.
That's okay. No, I was going to say, I just wanted to comment on her question about the transit technology first. And typically, I mean, in research institutions, you'll have the technology, but there's usually no market.
That's right.
I probably should have said this. So actually, what's happening now? So it's really funny. Brad's seen the whole evolution of my company. Is we had this technology for the satellite. Oh, we'll make these cheap satellites, and we thought that was the problem, that it was cheap satellites. So in reality, it was user experience was the problem. So we went around the world, and we actually. So the reason we're making this work right now is we've actually leased capacity on 11 satellites, all owned by foreign governments.
Oh my.
So I've gone around the world, everything from India, South Korea, Germany, Italy, Canada, and at least we've had conversations with all these foreign governments and said, would you be willing to sell us capacity? And they're like, heck yeah, we have. Yeah, they're like, we have 50 to 80% capacity on some of these satellites. So it's really cool because we've got to do a data product now, improve the use of it, and what we're really exploring as a company is how to create a user experience around satellite imaging. So, like if you come up and work with me in a minute, I have satellite data on my cell phone. Like I can open up my cell phone right now and I can give you satellite data from yesterday.
So were you funded with like SBIR money or DoD money? Are you all self-funded?
So we self-funded for quite a while, and we just took our first big chunk of money from Silicon Valley, and we'll probably, I would say probably the next 3-4 months, we're going to take a really big check from Silicon Valley. So we're bringing Silicon Valley money to upstate New York.
That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear that you're going to go there. I want to hear it's coming here.
He came from there to here.
I started the company in San Francisco. And I moved it to Ithaca, New York after I started the company.
And why did you do that?
Cost of labor structure. I actually was on a phone with a VC from California today, and he's like, you have such a big team. I'm like, yeah, but